Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Street League Drone Racing. Today we have got an awesome couple of announcements going on. We've got a bunch of information to share, and just really excited to be here with you today at the Street League Minting Party. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what this live stream is going to be. It's going to be a couple things. One, it's going to be a giveaway for a Hobbywing 60 amp ESC, which is super exciting. Big shout out to Hobbywing for sponsoring this live stream and keeping our pilots in the air. So yeah, that's one of the things we're going to be talking about during this live stream, but we're also going to be kind of going over what is Street Cred, what is it used for, and ultimately how do you use it to get to champs. We're going to be talking a little bit about some of our amazing sponsors that we brought on this year that we're super excited about having. And then just a little bit of talking here at the beginning, kind of about some of the racing that we've had so far during the season. It's been an incredible season so far. We just finished the final season race. However, there are a couple regionals still finishing up. The Ohio guys are going to be hosting one. Check out everything that King's doing at the Speedway. You're going to be doing some actual 7-inch drone racing on a road course. So that's super cool. How often do you get an opportunity to do that? We've also got the West Coast Throwdown is going to be hosting a regional, as well as Woodstopia. And then lastly, I believe the very last one of the season is Fort Collins in Colorado is going to be hosting their final regional race. They've held 3 of them, and the cool thing that they did was they split up the street cred that you get. So each of those races are worth 1/3 of what the other regionals are worth. So it's a bit of a series for them. So that's been super fun. I know I will definitely be going to that one. I wish so badly I could go to all of them, but you know, had to make sure I had the time to put on awesome live streams, awesome races for you guys. So welcome to the stream. I see people already piling in. Again, we're going to be doing a Hobbywing 60 amp ESC giveaway. Big shout out to them. So in order to be eligible for that giveaway, I'm going to need one thing from you, and that is a Street Cred crypto wallet. And if you don't know how to get that, you can go ahead and check out our YouTube channel. We've got a video talking about how you can go about earning Street Cred. And then in addition to that, we should have sent an email to everyone who has gone to an official season race, because those are the emails we have, with more information about how you can get your wallet. So go ahead and you've got the duration of the stream to send us a wallet address, and that is basically so that we can send you your Street Cred. And that's essentially all it is. So it's like, I guess, I can't think of an equivalent. Crypto's a little different, but basically it's the address that I would send mail to. It's the same exact thing, but just the crypto equivalent. What's up, Bits? What's up, my kingdom? How's it going, Mr. E? And also Free. Yeah, we're gonna go into our standings, so we've got a little bit more before we get to that. But yeah, also last thing that we're going to be talking about is champs. What is it going to look like this year? How do you get to champs? We're going to be going over all of that during this live stream. But I'm going to kick things off here. I want to talk a little bit about the season so far, and I've got a couple of the people who were involved in those races already in the YouTube chat, so I'm sure we'll get some of their takes on how each of those races went for them, and maybe chat about it a little bit. What's up, T-Dog? Good to see you in the stream. So yeah, so our race number 1, we did it in Citrus Springs, Florida, down at the ranch. It was an incredible venue. Anyone who's been to the ranch knows how hospitable Matt and Michelle are. They're just amazing people. They do so much for the drone racing community, and they were happy to help us host the biggest, best race that we have ever hosted at Street League, I would say. We had over 30 pilots at that race. That was a huge deal for us to finally crack that number and really start growing Street League a little bit. And that race was also really special because there were several current DRL pilots at that race. We had Killian, we had Lavelos, we had MCK, and several others just absolutely duking it out. And at the end, it came down to a race. Infinity, well, let's start from third. So Infinity was racing one of the smaller motors. I wish I had one around to actually show off. I used to, but I might have put it away. He was racing one of the smaller motors that you can run in Street League reasonably well, and that's the Pyro Flip motor, and it's a little bit on the smaller side, but one of the cool things about the Street League RPM limiter is that it also limits the acceleration of the motor, and so motors like that become way more viable. They're not exactly as power. I think there might be some slight disadvantage, but nobody was really able to detect it, and Infinity was able to get into third, even running a slightly slower motor. And it's kind of prophetic because he's the guy who originally came up with the concept of the RPM limiter. Himself and me worked together, and we came up with something that actually worked and flew after several scary flying blender moments. Tweaked the software and finally got it all working good. And now RPM limiting has really changed the drone racing game. So big shout out to Infinity. He managed to finish third in that first race. And then it came down to an incredible battle between Dubicki and MCK. And one of the things that was so impressive about this race, obviously the way that MCK flies is incredible. He's an incredibly talented pilot. But the thing about that final race that really impressed me was the fact that Dubicki showed that he wasn't scared of anybody. He was racing MCK, one of the most feared pilots in all of drone racing. And he just never backed off. It was really incredible. He only lost that race by, I think, a second or so. It was a very ultimately close race, even though MCK was he didn't make any mistakes. And so I think even though Dubicki didn't really make any big mistakes, it was really interesting to see him just fall back slowly, but he never gave up the entire race, and that was super impressive. It was cool to see a pilot who really hasn't proved his mettle to the rest of the world kind of come up and race against a big dog and get to see that, hey, no, this kid's in it for the long haul. He's got some really impressive skill here. We also got Rocker Guy in the chat, Turtle Mode. Thanks so much guys for joining. Turtle Mode, I've got your frame sitting right over there. That's my favorite frame to fly, man. Thank you so much for making it. Engineer, what's up? You were at the Citrus Springs race as well. Racing, I believe you called it the Big Cream Sandwich. You and Mason came up with a really awesome frame for that race. That was so much fun to see. But yeah, so that race came down to it. MCK took the win. Dubicki came in second, and that was the podium for race number 1. Race number 2, we went all the way out to Flight Test, Ohio, and if you guys haven't been there, another incredible venue. That's a dream spot for a lot of RC enthusiasts to get to enjoy the hobby of RC. It's an absolutely iconic location, created and run by the Flight Test crew. They were also incredibly welcoming to us, so huge shout out to them for letting us host the race there. And that race was really interesting. So this one's a little bit personal for me because this was the first race where we set up the live stream, we got everything going, and we kind of hit go on everything. And we had done a lot of work on making sure that the live stream and the music and all this different stuff was just kind of ran itself and went automatically. And I noticed that aside from having somebody talk on the mic about what was happening, there wasn't anything else to do aside from hit go on the timer. It was hit go on the timer, hit stop on the timer, and talk into a microphone and keep people hyped up. And so I decided that that was going to be the first Street League race that I would participate in officially, because I'd always felt like it was always a priority to make sure that the racing came first and all of that. But I felt like it was one of the first races where everything was going so smoothly that it was kind of okay for me to jump in and be like, all right, I'd like to race now and see what I can do. So I busted out the drone that I just built for that event, the Turtle Mode FPV Heavy Metal. Incredible frame, I really love it. I'd made a custom pod for it that I really enjoy, but the original pod is from the Open Racer that Yvonne created. So love everything about that concept. Very much in the spirit of open source. And so I raced that. That race came down to top 3. It was Lead Fingers coming in third. It was just a really intense battle. He had fought really well through the points rounds, and I knew that it was him and Dubicki were the guys to watch out for, but definitely Dubicki, because he just got to the top of the points and he stayed there, and he was setting top times. Literally, it was almost every single heat that he was setting a top time compared to everybody else. There were a lot of skilled pilots at that race too. There was Screecher, there was Proximo, there was Skyfall. We saw K-Mead come out. It's cool to see him racing more often, and yeah, it was just super fun. So Leadfingers finished out in third, and then it came down to the battle between myself and Dubicki, actually. And that was just an incredible amount of fun because Dubicki is super talented, and I got to watch him in that race number 1 race against MCK. So I'm like, okay, if Dubicki can at least hold his ground against MCK, I really want to see what I can do against him. And ultimately he took the win. I made a mistake, I crashed out, and Dubicki won it, but he definitely deserved it. He was going incredibly fast and setting hot times. I believe Free did well at that race also, if I am remembering correctly. But yeah, thanks so much guys for joining. We're going to be doing a giveaway, just so everyone remembers, of a Hobbywing 60 amp. Go check your emails, because if you participated in a season race, we sent you instructions for how you can enter that giveaway. So go check your emails if you want to be part of it, and we'll be giving that away towards the end of the stream. So yeah, oh yeah, I'm seeing all sorts of great comments. Engineer says, can we race in another hurricane? Yeah, that was one of the great things we did in Citrus Springs. It wasn't quite a hurricane, but it was windy, and the rain was going sideways for sure. And I think it was Bits? Who was it? Let me know in the chat. It was either Bits or Engineer that absolutely sent it in the rain. They flew a full 3 laps with the hurricane winds and the rain going, and it was just awesome. Which reminds me that for champs, we're going no matter what. So if you're showing up to champs, if you're planning to coming to either the last chance qualifier that's on site, or if you're coming as part of the top 16, consider conformal coding, because if there is rain, there's still racing. So that's just how we're going to have to run it. And the nice thing about Street League quads, you don't really lose out a lot by conformal coding. So you might as well just make that drone ready for anything. Oh yeah, Bits says both Engineer, Bits, and Zebra 3 all threw out a quad in the rain. That's just, I love that. So yeah, Dubicki took his first win of the season, which was really exciting after seeing him up against MCK, and then he's taking the win in race number 2 against both myself and Led. And then race number 3 just happened. It was an awesome race. There were many memorable moments. And that was the second race, actually, that I got to participate in as well, because things were running pretty smoothly for the most part. So third place for that one was King, and King just flew incredibly consistently throughout the day. It was kind of cool because the race was held in Colorado, so it was the home team kind of had the advantage. It was like myself and Leadfingers and Bits. Bits finished out in 4th, and King managed to still beat him. But we're all really comfortable with this incredible location that is, we call it TOG, it stands for The Other Guys Drone Racing chapter. Bumpers in the chat, he was absolutely instrumental in making that race happen. He's out there with his trailer, making sure people are fed, making sure trash has, there's somewhere for trash, and racing as well. It's just, people like that are what make this community keep going. So huge shout out to Bumper and Quans and all the fellow TOG admins. But yeah, this track, if you haven't seen it before, go check out our live streams. There are 30-foot tall hanging gates, up to 30-foot high dive gate, and we used every single inch of those, and it was just incredible. We actually had people coming over the 30-foot, so there were drones as high as like 40, 50 feet in the air just to get through this course. It was one of the most technical courses that we've ever flown, but King just absolutely dominated through the points rounds. He made sure he wasn't crashing. He got himself up in a good position in semifinals. I believe it was either King or Bits, one of the two, who was actually looking at the way that the semifinals was seeding, and kind of chose their finishing order during points rounds to make sure that they were in the bracket that they wanted to be in. And we ended up getting into a super difficult semifinal bracket. It was myself, Leadfingers, and Russell AR, who had just been dominated. He was the top points leader by, I think, over 20 points by the end of the 2 days of points rounds that we did. So Russell AR was definitely the man to beat, but King came in a solid third place, ended up getting knocked out in that final round, and then it came down to myself and Russell AR. We both threw it on the line, and that's what I'll say about that, because again, unfortunately for me, there was a mistake there in that final run, but I did set the fastest time. I think it was the fastest time of the event, trying to beat Russell AR, because I knew that I was going to have to pull out speed that I'd not been able to do all event long. And so even though I set the fastest time of the event, I believe, in that last heat, Russell AR set his personal best on top of having the best on the track up until that point. So I pulled out everything I had. I pulled out all the stops. It wasn't enough. And ultimately, Russell AR was the pilot who took first place for race number 3. It was an incredible race. Definitely the semifinals are super fun to watch. There was at least one points round heat. Actually, no, it was there was a semifinals heat that Russell AR and Lead Fingers and Bike Guy were going at it, and this heat was so incredible. Go check out Russell AR's Facebook page. He's got it on. He like posted the raw DVR of it, and it's got audio in it, and you can hear me losing my breath. I'm just absolutely speechless as we're going through this race because there's so many mix-ups, and Russell AR just absolutely hunkered down and made that heat happen. Almost didn't make it to the top 4, but he did. He managed to get it in the end after having 2 mid-airs, and survived to go on and ultimately win the race. So it was an incredible race from Russell AR. He took the win, and that was just super cool to see. And that rounds out all of our season races for 2023. However, again, like I said before, we've got regionals coming up. So West Coast Throwdown, Woodstopia, I'm blanking on when the Fort Collins race. Oh, and then King's race that he's going to be hosting in Cleveland, Ohio. All of those are going to be incredible races. So definitely, if those are in your area, go check them out because it could turn out to be really important based on how the Street Cred stacks up. So with that said, I'd like to take a quick moment and talk about well, actually, let's go ahead and talk about some of the sponsors that we've had because we have some new ones and we also have some new products that are spec that were not spec in previous season races. So first and foremost, I'm super excited to talk a little bit about GemFan props. So GemFan came on and they said, what's it going to take to build the ultimate Street League prop? And they worked really closely with us to make sure that this prop was absolutely perfect. We had a couple revisions we went through, and ultimately they came out with something that they were super happy with. I'm super happy with it. I'm super stoked to see now 2 manufacturers get into the prop game. So GemFan came out. They came out with the Street League GemFan props, and ultimately, I just feel like it's the right tool for the job. It's designed specifically for Street League. It's more efficient and it's faster around a track, and I was so impressed by that when we finally ran the numbers and we came back and we were like, oh, this is actually more efficient. And then we timed how it was around a track and we're like, oh, it's faster around a track. And so it was really impressive to see them engineer that prop and make it the perfect prop for Street League. We've also got 10 set bags in the Street League store exclusively. So one of the things I've always hated with prop bags, you pull out the prop bag and you're like, oh, which orientation is this prop? And sometimes you put one on backwards and it's just kind of a pain. So we're actually selling clockwise and counterclockwise props, so you never mix them up. And you get a big old bag filled with 20 sets in each of those bags. And so yeah, you can get a bunch of props all at the same time, slightly cheaper shipping. And yeah, we're super excited to be bringing that with GemFan. Also, a new partner of ours is going to be DOTG drones. They've got the 7 Wonders drone. That's the drone that Paco's been racing. He brought that out to Multi-GP.io. We were super stoked to be running a track along with Velocity Drone there. And they brought that, Paco brought that frame out. I'm pretty sure he bumped up a couple spots in the mains with that as well as in team racing. So check out their store. They've got all sorts of frames, not just Street League frames. So definitely worth checking them out. Also, new motor. So the Speed Source Manny motors, if you haven't checked them out, they are just gorgeous. Go check those out at Speed Source. They've got it, I think they've got some pictures on Russell AR's Facebook as well if you want to see what they look like. They're beautiful, they're perfect, they're the Manny motors. You couldn't go wrong with a pilot like Manny to put his name on a set of motors. So super stoked about those. That's the first motor actually also to be designed specifically for Street League. So we're starting to see the products really shift towards, oh, we know what Street League is and we're going to build something specifically for it. So super excited about the Manny motors. They're also super durable and super torquey, so check those out. And then also Rect, we're super excited to be working with them. They've got one of the best selection of Street League specific gear at any FPV store, so we're stoked about that. They got X Novas, T Motors, Brother Hobbies, GemFan HQ, lead weights. They've got LED, like they've got everything that you would want if you're looking for getting your Street League rigs all set up and ready to go. And then, let's see, motors. So we got a little info about motors and what it takes for them to be spec. So Demon Power Systems, they reached out to us and they're like, hey, we got a motor. What's it going to take to get into the spec? And this is just kind of a PSA for anybody who wants to get a motor into the spec. 2808 is kind of where most people seem to be rolling, but essentially we've got a stator volume that you have to hit. So if you want to learn more about that, go check that out at streetleague.io/rules. And you can see all the rules for the motors and everything else, and there's a link on there to all the motors that we have spec checked and make sure kind of added to the whitelist. We don't really have a whitelist for motors that are clearly under the spec, so if you've got motors and you're like, hey, these are really small motors, you know, just run those. We're not going to worry too much about them, but when you start getting up into the 2808s or 2510s, like where it's really close to spec, that's when we're going to need you to send us a sample, and then we double check that the stator is actually below, and then at that point we add them to the list and you're good to go. So if you're looking at getting a motor into Street League, that's how you do it. Check out streetleague.io/rules. Yeah, let's see. Oh, another big note is the Street League store was on a brief hiatus. We needed to kind of get our stuff organized. We didn't really expect it to blow up as big as it did. So now the Street League store is back open. We've got new props, we've got hoodies, we've got shirts, we've got frames. So definitely go check out the Street League store if you're just looking to pick up some of those Street League specific items. Let's see, so let's talk a little bit about what it's going to take to get to champs, and also what Street Cred is for those of you who are kind of new to this, because the way that we do our champs ticket is absolutely unique to any drone racing league, and it's kind of fun. It's a little stressful, we admit, but it's a bit of a game in and of itself to get to champs. So here's how things work. As you go throughout the season, every single pilot that you beat at an official Street League race, you get a certain amount of Street Cred. So for season races, it's 10 Street Cred. For regional races, you earn up to 6 Street Cred per pilot that you beat. And so essentially, if you go to a race that's a huge race, it's got 30 pilots at it, and you win that race, there's a ton of Street Cred to be earned there because you beat so many unique pilots. But if you go to a smaller race, it's not worth quite as much, but it's still worth some Street Cred. And ultimately, the season races are the ones that earn you the most Street Cred, just because we can kind of maintain the standard. But next year, things may be shaken up a little bit, so stay tuned for that after champs. So as you race, the more pilots you beat, the more Street Cred you earn. Pretty simple. And we've got this beautiful leaderboard that I'd like to bring up, and we can show off kind of where we're at for our season so far. So I'll go ahead and bring this up while I talk about it. And well, let's go ahead and first off, I want to give a big round of applause right now, because at this point in the season, Free is your current Street Cred champion so far. We've got a couple more regionals coming up. There's some chances to earn more Street Cred, but right now, Free is in the lead with 647 Street Cred. King is just super close behind. But keep in mind, this is just how much Street Cred they've earned for the season so far. The next step to this is going to be how much Street Cred they have come this very important deadline. So on September 9th at midnight, we're going to be looking at the crypto wallets of all Street Cred owners. And for the Street Cred owners who don't have a crypto wallet, we'll be looking at how much they earned. But we're going to be looking at how much Street Cred is currently owned by every pilot, and the top 16 pilots will be locked in for a free ticket to champs. So that's how things are going to work. It's a little different than normal. Now, the spicy thing about this is Street Cred is a cryptocurrency, and that's why we're asking for Ethereum wallets. So today marks the first day that we will begin minting out all of the Street Cred that our pilots have earned throughout the season. And at that point, once you have that currency, it's yours, you own it. You can buy it, you can sell it, you can trade it for goods and services, you can do anything you want. There's a graphics card, I think, that was sold for Street Cred already this season, kind of preemptively because I know Bids is trying to get up in that top spot. He wants to ensure he gets the spot to champs, and so that's essentially what's going to go on here. So instead of making pilots pay for a championship, our championship tickets have been paid for from the tickets that we from the ticket funds that we received throughout the season, and we use that and we put that into our championship, and then we make the tickets free for the top 16, granted that you have shown that you have the proof of speed that is Street Cred. So that's what we like to call it. Yeah, Free, Rocker Guy's noticing Free's pretty rich with Street Cred. I'm curious to see if his strategy is to sell it and make a little extra money before champs, or if he's trying to go for the posterity and be at the top of the leaderboard come September 9th. But yeah, so that's how Street Cred works. Essentially, it's pretty simple. And last year it got really spicy. It came down to the wire. There was within that last hour several big trades that happened, and you did see big players show up who hadn't raced during the season. So Heads Up, Alex FPV, those guys both paid a decent chunk of change to get to the championship, and ultimately we couldn't be too mad about that because they're some of the best pilots in the world and they knew they had a shot at the racing, so it made sense to have them buy their way in, especially since they didn't have the time to make it to a season race. So yeah, that's kind of some of the spicy stuff that can happen. That's coming up. So September 9th is the deadline for that. However, tomorrow at midnight we will be opening up ticket purchases for the last chance qualifier at our championship. So the last chance qualifier is going to be held on site the day before the actual championship race. The championship race is going to be the top 24 pilots. 16 of those will be the top 16 Street Cred owners, and then the other 8 pilots will be backfills from the last chance qualifier. If a top 16 pilot does not show up to the championship, we will be filling their spot from the last chance qualifier. So right now it's the top 8 from the last chance qualifier move on, but it could be the top 9, it could be the top 10 if a couple people, have a bunch of Street Cred and can't show up for the last minute or whatever. But we're pretty sure that if you went through the effort of obtaining the Street Cred, it's going to make sense to be at the top 16. So that's kind of how we deal with people who can't show up or whatnot. We make it valuable enough that it makes sense that they'll be there. Free says, we'll see what happens in Ohio in 2 weeks. Sandusky Speedway, here I come. So Sandusky Speedway, that's an actual road racing course that they're going to be doing a Street League regional race at. It's going to be so much fun. Super looking forward to seeing the DVR from that. Wish I could be there so bad, but if you're anywhere near Ohio, it's worth it to check that race out and get some Street Cred. And the other cool thing is, I wonder if we can take a look at this. I wonder if scrolling will work for me here. But one of the cool things about Street Cred is that if you're not in that top list, we got a pretty deep list here of people who have Street Cred, some of which might not be able to show up. And one of the cool things about that is that the top guys are going to need to make sure that they're still in that top 16. So it's worth it to send us a wallet, because we can send you, even if it's just 10, 20 Street Cred, the top guys are going to be able to pay money. They'll be able to pay you for that Street Cred to make sure that they get their ticket to Champs. So Champs tickets for Street League cost what the market demands. That's essentially how it is. We don't decide what the cost of a Champs ticket is. We paid for our ability to run Champs throughout the season, and the pilots ultimately decide what it is worth to them. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And I see people starting to fill in the chat. Go ahead and say what's up. It's fun to see who's chatting with us. I see Laws FPV says, I'm so stoked to have Street League race in my hometown. I love that. Love seeing Street League spread. And we finally have Street League going a little bit international. It looks like Gem Fan Mike is going to be spreading it to his hometown as well. So maybe we'll have to have a Street League Champs right now might turn into Street League Nationals, and then we may have to have several other nationals. I don't know if you're trying to get it kicked up in other regions in the world. Go ahead and let us know. Yeah, let's see what else we got. So that's kind of how Champs is working for the most part. The LCQ ticket does cost money. That is $75, just like our other season races. So you will have to buy a ticket, but that's kind of the cost you pay for running an extra race. Essentially, it's going to be 2 races. What's up, Chet Mac? Got to hang out with Chet Mac at I.O. Super fun. Yeah, and he's gonna one of the hosting chapters for our championship. So that's the other thing I didn't talk about yet, is the location for Street League Champs is in Dallas, Texas. Huge shout out to Dallas, Texas Drone Racing. They run an awesome multi-GP chapter, and they have an awesome field that they've secured through the city. And so we have essentially, like, I think it's bigger than a football field. I think it's like several soccer fields worth of space to work with here. So we're going to be able to build a super epic, awesome track. And, oh, Dubicki says we need a Street League World Championship. That's, we'll see. We don't want to exclude any pilots right now, but yeah, maybe someday. A man can dream. But yeah, Dallas, Texas, I'm super excited for that. They've been amazing hosts so far, helping us get set up for that race. That's going to be happening September 16th and 17th, that weekend. I'm going to make sure I get these dates right. Yeah, September 16th and 17th is when the last chance qualifier happens, and then the final championship with the top 24 pilots. So we've got more information on our website. We've got the dates, we've got the times, we've got the places. So check out the website if you're unsure what all is going on at Champs. We got it all up there. And yeah, this is what your Street League season leaderboard is looking like. And actually, I'm curious to see what our bubble is right now. I'm gonna go ahead and scroll down a little bit. So right now, your bubble is actually a tie between Engineer. Oh no, it's not a tie. It's very close though. Oh no, it is a tie. Yeah. Singularity and Proximo are both your bubble boys with 240 street cred. Engineer just squeaking by there. He is the fastest pilot per dollar spent. That's what we like to call him. Heart of America FBB says, same track for the last chance qualifier. Yes, we will be racing the same track for the last chance qualifier, and in between last chance qualifier rounds, that will also be the practice time for the top 16 pilots. So they will have the same number of packs, ideally exactly the same number of packs as the last chance qualifier pilots on the track when we go into the top 24 race at the on the 17th. So yeah, tracks are a touchy subject. I think one of the interesting things that happened this season was we had released our tracks on our official simulator, Velocidrome, before each of our season races, about 2 weeks. So it wasn't too much time to practice. It wasn't, too little time to practice. But for the Colorado race, we actually did not release the track. Just to be completely honest, we ran out of time logistics-wise, and we wanted to make sure we just had something good. So we did have a track in mind, but we didn't build it in the sim because we didn't want some people able to practice it and some people not to. We literally, it ended up getting made in MS Paint, which was kind of fun. And it was, it was still a pretty fun track, I would say. It was definitely more technical than I think any of our other tracks have ever been, but it was super vertical, so it was fun. Yeah, sketch night before. DeBits was actually, he submitted the final version that we ultimately ended up tweaking just a little bit. I think we only moved like 1 or 2 gates from the version he submitted. And yeah, it was a super fun track. I was really glad we came up with it. And yeah, so let's see, what else have we got? So what is Street Cred? Talked a little bit about that. We talked a little bit about Champs, last chance qualifier. I think that is basically it. So the final segment of the stream is going to be our giveaway. So for those of you who don't know, we have a giveaway of a Hobbywing 60 amp ESC. Huge shout out to Hobbywing for providing that. And we're going to be giving it away to anyone or one pilot who has submitted their Street Cred wallet. And we got our list, and we've got our random generator. I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And we have our winner. Give me 1 second. Let me update. And congratulations to Maverick. Maverick, you are our winner for the Hobbywing 60 amp ESC. I know you were at our last race, so I'm sure you could always use an extra ESC. I know you. There's always another build in the making. Always looking forward to building another Street League quad for sure. I think I'm up to like 3 or 4 now. The problem is they don't die. The Hobbywing 60 amp especially does not die, and that's one of the reasons why my builds last so long. So big shout out to Hobbywing. Thank you guys so much for providing that ESC for the giveaway. Thank you so much for joining And I'm going to be hanging out in our Discord chat if anyone wants to just come and chill. And that's where we do a lot of our talking and hanging out about anything Street League related, a lot of things not Street League related. I'm going to drop a link to that in our chat for anyone who wants to come hang out. But I believe that is going to conclude our stream. Thank you so much for joining, guys, and I'm looking so much forward. Remember, LCQ signups begin tomorrow. We have 40 spots available. It is first come, first serve. We have 40 spots available for the last chance qualifier. Top 8 from that move on to the championship, which is the top 24. Yeah, and so cutoff for that, or those tickets start selling tomorrow at midnight. And then the next deadline, let's go ahead and pull it up actually. Next deadline we have is September 9th. The Street Cred leaderboard will lock down. And at that point, those are your top 16 for champs. If any of them no-show, we'll be backfilling them from the last chance qualifier. September 16th is our last chance qualifier. Top 8 advance, potentially more if there are no-shows from the top 16. And then September 17th, the top 24 pilots will race to decide the 2023 Street League Drone Racing Champion. So thank you so much. Congratulations to all of our pilots who've made it this far in the season. And we look forward to seeing you at Champs or the Last Chance Qualifier or in the future with us here at Street League Drone Racing. So thanks so much for joining, and I'll see you next time.